Nick.
Hi, I'm Bobby Halton. I work for Fire Engineering Magazine, Fire Rescue Magazine, Fire Apparatus Emergency Equipment Magazine, and a small firefighters conference called FDIC, who is bringing you today's Google Hangout. FDIC is filling up fast, especially the hands-on training. If you're interested in attending the UL-NIST live fire studies, there'll be 2, Monday and Tuesday, please sign up quickly. That class is filling very rapidly, and we expect it to sell out. So please, if you're thinking about participating in the NIST NIST UL FDIC studies, please register now. Also, the workshops fill up really quickly. So if you plan on taking, Captain Dugan's class and Mike Galliano's or some of the other great, Chief Bernasini's blue card, those things fill up pretty fast too. So please make sure you get registered early. It's a great time. We're expecting about 35,000 firefighters to show up and have a great time in Indianapolis, so we hope we get to see you there. Hey, today's Google Hangout is something that's very, very, very important to me. It's we're going to be talking about the F.O.O.L.S, which is the Fraternal Order of Leatherheads. It's a fraternal organization, international organization, and we're going to talk about its purpose and its mission and how you can become a member, what they're doing now, and how you can participate. So I've got some great fools on with me. And I'm going to go around the room, so to speak, the virtual room, and have everybody introduce themselves in a moment. But if you want to ask a question about the F.O.O.L.S or firefighting or training or anything in general, or what's Robbie's Fisher favorite Chardonnay, you can do so by just going to hashtag FETalk, hashtag FETalk, and send in a question. And my good buddy Brandon Rowland will send me the questions on my portable phone device here, and I'll be able to give your question right to our panelists here today. So that's how this works. It's pretty cool. It's your hangout. We're hanging out, and we're talking about the F.O.O.L.S. So Mike, why don't you introduce yourself first and tell everybody who you are, what you're currently up to, and we'll go around the room.
My name is Mike Dugan. I'm a retired captain from the FDNY. I do a lot of work with fire engineering and FDIC on the advisory boards, and I'm also I do a lot of writing for them as far as the fire focus columns. Recently, I've been up to not much. I'm little limited on my mobility right now. So if you see me moving around, it's because I'm uncomfortable. I had my knee replaced a week and a half ago. So I'm still getting better. The therapist left about a half an hour ago. So PT in my world right now stands for pain and torture. But we're getting there, and it's always brighter at the other side of the day. So everything's going good.
Outstanding. Okay, Rusty, why don't you go, buddy?
Hey, how are you? Rusty Ricker. I'm the president of the New England F.O.O.L.S, and just honored to be joining you guys here today. Glad I could be here to help out.
Outstanding. And Rusty's one of these humble bumbles who I'll have to say more about. But Rusty, I'm coming up on Friday. Are you going to be able to hang out with me in Worcester? We're going to be up there with John Sullivan and the boys. We're doing some kind of crazy dinner thing.
I very well might be able to make the trip.
Yeah. I'll be up there Friday night. We'll be hanging out and doing a little dinner and training. So, but it's actually dinner and education, a little bit different. So if you can make it, brother, I'd love to see you.
Right,
how much snow do you guys have? I know Buffalo got clobbered, man. How bad did you get it?
We didn't get any at all.
Really?
It's cold, but we didn't get any at all.
I saw in the news today that that Buffalo got 7 feet. It's the all-time, it's the U.S. record for a one-day snowfall. And I got to tell you, that's why these global warming people they crack me up, because when I was a kid back in the 70s, and Mike, you probably remember this, when I was in college in the 70s, there were magazines from Time Magazine that said the coming global ice age. I think the old scientists had it right. The new guys, I think they're screwed up, because 7 feet of snow is a lot of global warming.
Wow. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Pretty funny stuff, man. I love it when guys get it wrong. But so it's pretty funny stuff. Hey, we also have our good friend, amazing friend. I got to tell you, on a personal level, one of the neat things about the Fools is that we all say we care about each other, we take care of each other. But there's one guy in the Fools who really epitomizes what it means to be a fool, and he really he really does. Not a lot of people talk about character. A lot of people talk about doing the right thing and all of that. But what really matters is what they do and how they carry themselves. And we're really lucky today because he was able to be with us. Rob Fisher doesn't just say he's going to do the right thing. Rob just does the right thing all the time. And you couldn't have a better friend. You couldn't have a better guy covering your back. You just couldn't imagine a better firefighter and all around person. I mean, a lot of people talk about being a great firefighter, but I think it's better to be a great person who also happens to be a firefighter. And Rob's that guy. Whether it's personal stuff with my family, Rob's always there to support us. Whether it's issues with your health, Rob will be there to support you. Whether it's you're having trouble in your career, or you just want somebody to hang around with who's a great guy who unfortunately roots for the wrong football team, but most of the time has it pretty much right. So, Rob, why don't you tell people about yourself?
Well, thank you for those kind words. I thought you were going to introduce Ben Flegel or somebody, because those were pretty powerful words. But my name's Rob Fisher. I'm the educational trustee. I am Mike Dugan's successor. I work over on the West Coast, which is far away from where you guys are at. Climate's mild here, so we have no snow. And I don't know what else to say, Bobby. Those were kind of caught me off guard, but I think that's what we're here to talk about is basically kind of what you were hitting on is what the Fools stand for, and I think some people see the Fools as something else, and hopefully doing something like the Hangout or when we're at FDIC, we can talk a little bit more about the Fools and what it really stands for, and that's basically taking care of each other. You right there, Dugan?
Yep, doing good. No, I'm doing good. I'm doing good.
And that's an important thing that Robbie just said. Before we talk about who the Fools are, one thing to know about the Fools is it's not just a fire engineering thing or an FDIC thing. The Fools are at the Firehouse Show. We do our own international conference every year. The Fools are the Fools. And one of the cool things about them is that we don't sit in any one camp. The Fools aren't, the Fools are for the entire fire service, whether you're a career volunteer, whether you're young, whether you're old, whether you're, in Canada or in Abu Dhabi. It's interesting. The Fools are like America. It's an idea. It's an incredible idea. So, Rob, Mikey, you guys were part of it. I got one of the first 100 coins that were given to me by Mike Gilbert, which I'm very proud of. It's one of my, it's one of the challenge coins. I've got 10 challenge coins that I call my top 10 challenge coins, and it's one of my top 10. It's an amazing thing to have one of the first 100 coins that were given to the Fools. And Gilbert always says one of the first 100 Fools, but I don't really think I was. I don't think I was one of the first 100, but arguably, Mike, you were, and I think, Rob, you may have been as well. Who are the Fools?
Well, the Fools started. There were a bunch of Florida firemen got together and decided that the fire service was going away. The fire service that we knew, that we grew up with, was going away. And it wasn't that science, it wasn't that the technology of the day, bunker gear coming in, it wasn't that EMS coming in, it wasn't any of that stuff. We all hear about how everything ruins the fire service. It wasn't that, it was that we were losing our tradition of brotherhood, of being there for each other, the traditions that bound us together, the honor, the traditions, the duties, and the duties to each other. And the fire service was losing that. And these guys got together and said, it's time to preserve this. So 6 guys got together and decided that they were going to form this club. And I met them 2 years after they started it, FDIC, teaching with them, and I was awestruck at how brilliant the idea was. And I've been involved ever since. But they are trying to preserve the heritage of the fire service, and it's not the heritage of fighting fires with wooden ladders and horses or any of that crap. It's the heritage of fighting fires and afterwards being brothers and sisters, taking care of each other, and making it your second family. And to me, that is one of the most important. This is, if you're not home for a holiday, you are with your brothers and sisters at the firehouse. And that is what it's all about. These are the people that you spend a lot of your life with, and you are also willing to risk your life with. And you should be a family.
Well, it's funny, and I want to hear, Rusty, what you and Rob think also, but somebody just sent me via electronic medium at #FETalk. He sent back, Chief Halton, we are the fools, which I think is pretty cool. They said, who are the fools? We are the fools. I think that's pretty cool, you guys. Rob, what's your take on who are the fools?
Well, first of all, I like it to church for me. It's about fellowship, and kind of to tag on to what Dugan was talking about, some of the history. And I wasn't around in the first part of all of this. My story's kind of, and we can talk about it later, but my story, I didn't come in until 2002, and I remember like it was yesterday. But like any great organization, they always start at, there's always this one day where everybody gets together, and and I think of in 1970 or in 1775 when the Marines got together at Tun Tavern. That was the start, and for the Fools, it was FDIC, and at the Hampton Inn in a basement. And a large group of guys get together, and it's not that women are not into this, but it's a group of firemen that get together and start sharing their frustrations and their experiences, and we can be better than this. And that group is basically what started what I think is one of the greatest organizations that I'm a part of, and I'm a part of a number of them. So for me, the Fools, it's even though being the training trustee or the educational trustee, it's not just about education or training. It's like I'm tied to a group of great men and women across the nation with similar ideals of mine, and that is, as Mike was talking about, it's the heritage, the traditions, being a part of a brother and sisterhood. Taking care of one another. That's what the Fools are to me. And I look at, like, we go from Captain Dugan being the educational trustee of the Fools to little Robbie Fisher from a smaller organization. My department is 6 stations. Mike Dugan comes from FDNY. How is that possible? Well, it's not just about all of our experiences. It's about being able to give back and be a part of the organization, and that's how I see the Fools.
Wow. Rusty?
As both Mike and Robbie alluded to, it's not who we are, it's what we are, it's how we are. We're all like-minded. We're all, I don't want to say cut from the same cloth, but we are all in it for the same reasons. It's not just a job. It's about being into the job, not on the job, but as well as the fellowship, the brotherhood. I went to Texas last week and a half ago for my son's graduation from basic, and I had dinner with a guy that I'd never met before because I knew him through the Fools. I had the pleasure of having dinner with Rob Mitchell, and my family was there. My family was, how long have you known him? I don't know. I just met him same time you did. Last year, my dad got sick. I needed a ride from the airport in Tampa to the hospital where he was. Made a couple of phone calls, and Big Daddy picked me up at the hospital, at the airport, drove me to the hospital. So it's not about being a member of something. It's not about the T-shirt or the sticker or anything like that. It's about being with the people who think the same way that you do about the same things that you do. That's what it is to me.
Wow. Wow.
Bobby, to jump on with what Rusty's saying is that we just gave an award away this last convention to a group, and I don't remember the exact chapter, but that chapter, there was a brother that had somebody in the hospital out of state, and this chapter took care of this individual, going to the hospital, making sure that the family of the area is taken care of, and they didn't even know who he was or she was. That's what the Fools are about. Coming into town and knowing that there's a Fools chapter and saying, just putting it out on Facebook or whatever, and saying, hey, I'm going to be in town. Anybody can help me out there from the chapter, and 9 times out of 10, somebody is on it and says, I'll take care of you, brother, and make sure you get out and about, take you to dinner, show you good watering holes, whatever it may be. But that's the cool thing about the Fools, which was something that happened a lot years ago in the fire service, and I think is kind of, without the Fools, we've kind of lost a little bit of that.
Yeah, I think that it kind of leads into the next question I had for you guys. The next thing I want to talk about is, why are the Fools important to the fire service? What makes the what do the Fools do? What do they represent? What makes the Fools important to the fire service?
Well, I think what makes the Fools so important to the fire service, Bobby, is they are trying to preserve the best traditions that we have. That brotherhood, that sisterhood. They are trying to preserve that it's not just a job. I mean, it's a calling, it's a lifestyle, it's a life, okay? And it is dedicated to the service of others. And as Robbie equated it to church. Whether you're a practicing religious or not, it doesn't matter. As long as you are someone who feels that you are willing to give 125% to your fire department family, and to your brothers and sisters, and that same goes to any stranger you meet on the street who's a fireman. If they need help, they are your brother or sister, and you should do whatever you can, the best you can, to help that individual.
Do you want to jump in on that one? Why are the Fools important, Rusty?
I mean, to take off on what Mike just said, it's not just whether you're a paid fireman, whether you're a union fireman, whether you're a volunteer fireman. If you're a fireman, we're going to take care of you. As a chapter, we span Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, Massachusetts. And let me tell you, we get every single last flavor of firefighter that you possibly can in that demographic of ours as a chaplain. And nobody's any different. And it's the first time someone comes into that, be it a training or an event that we're holding, the first time someone comes in from, Nowhereville, USA, and sees these big city guys are no better or no different than they are. They're just here for the same reasons. It blows them away. And I think it puts everybody on a level playing field. You're not, you're a fool. That's it. There's no magic, no mystery to it.
Well, Rob, did you want to tackle it before I throw my 2 cents in there?
Sure. I think that the Fools kind of set the standard, or set the kind of the rules that have been lost in the fire service, going back to what we've been talking about with helping each other out. I think this organization helps to maintain those standards, and that this is how we should be treating each other. And the one great thing I love about the Fools is, Rusty already mentioned, is that you don't have to be career. It's volunteer. It's buff. It's chief. It's, you name it. You affiliated with the fire service, you can be a part of our group. but we have a set of standards. And like any fraternity, they're high standards. And like anything in the fire service, there's always a few that struggle to meet those, and we have to help them along their way, or help them, guide them in the right direction. But I look at the F.O.O.L.S as important to the fire service because we set those regulations of how to treat one another, and then in addition to that, we're preserving the traditions, and it's not, Mike said it earlier, it's not about leather helmets, and well, it is to some people, but it's not about doing things the old way. It's about remembering where we came from and understanding that, because without understanding your history, it's hard to have a really successful future.
I couldn't agree with everybody more. I think for me, why I think the F.O.O.L.S are important to the fire services, because I think that, like our brothers and sisters in the military have VFW posts that you can go to. If you're a veteran, you can go to a VFW post anywhere across the country. You can stop into that post. You can sit down, have a cup of coffee. If you want a cup of coffee, you could have a meal at some of them. They have food or adult beverages. And you can swap stories and tell people, what units you were with or where you were, blah, 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 and they're everywhere. The cops have the FOP, which is the Fraternal Order of Police, and they're really cool organizations, and you can pop into them if you're a cop all across the nation, and it's available to you. We've got now the Fraternal Order of Leatherheads, and it's going to be that kind of place where you don't have to be a career guy, or you don't have to be just a gal. You don't have to be a volunteer gal. You could be union, non-union. You could be male or female. You could be gay or straight. You could be anything under the sun. If you're connected to the fire service, and we're going to get into what the F.O.O.L.S represent. We're going to talk a little bit about values in a second here. That's what we're going to get into. But if you belong to the fire service for the right reasons, and you participate in the fire service for the right reasons, or you did participate, you can still be connected to the Fraternal Order of Leatherheads. And I think it's so important because this year, well, the last 2 years, the fire service has taken a real focus on mental health, and it started with our we always had the 13th initiative, which is kind of interesting. That's the 13th initiative for mental health and wellness, and we got very interested in firefighter suicide, which is a tremendous problem that we're dealing with within our profession today. I'm working up an editorial right now on saving our own, and we talk a lot about saving our own. But one of the things that we learned in our studies of suicide, and what we've been taught from the folks that really pay attention to it, is that when people lose that connection, that sense of belonging, that makes them very vulnerable. And if they've had ideation about things like suicide, or if they're struggling with other things, it compounds that sense of loneliness and despair that sometimes enters people's lives. And it can happen to us too. It can happen to firefighters just as easily as anybody else. And so one of the ways to balance that is to give people a place to go, like the Fraternal Order of Leatherheads, where you don't have to have been a union member. You may not have agreed with the union stance. You don't have to have been a career person. That may not have been your opportunity. You don't have to have been a volunteer firefighter or a man or anything like that. You just have to have been involved with the fire service. And we have people in the F.O.O.L.S who were never firefighters, but they were folks that worked in the fire service. In other words, they were dispatch people, or they were folks that sold products related to the fire service, who are just as into it as we are. We've got photographers and some folks like that who never fought a fire, but have given us photographs and videos that we've learned a ton from. So I think what the F.O.O.L.S represent to me is, like Robbie said, an aspect of the fire service that used to exist because we used to be on every corner, and we used to sit out in front of every firehouse, and we used to hold all kinds of meetings for the communities within those firehouses. And a lot like the drift in the 80s away from a lot of our safety practices like door control and other issues that we had on second lines and a lot of the stuff that we used to do, we kind of drifted away from taking care of our own in terms of a sense of community and a sense of connection. And what the Fools do is allows people, and Robbie's going to get into talking a little bit about what our values and what our virtues are that we hold undeniable and inalienable, that you cannot violate in a minute. But if you agree to those, and it's not a, it's interesting. It's a tremendous moral and ethical dilemma to accept the philosophy of life that is the Fraternal Order of Leatherheads for people who've had little real-world experience with the fire service. They can't do it. They can't make that leap. Some of those people are in the fire service who aren't willing to make that leap, and they're interesting people. But if you're willing to make that total commitment to that philosophy of life, and I hate to ramble on, then the Fools are, that's what the Fools represent to the fire service for me, is a place where people who've made that commitment to that philosophy of life, of what it means to be a firefighter, of every single dimension, then that's what the Fools represent to me, and I think what they represent to the fire service. But that's just me, and I could be completely wrong. Rob, why don't you talk a little bit? You kind of touched on it a little bit a second ago, and then Rusty and Mike can chime in and elaborate. What are the values and virtues that make someone a Fool or want to participate with the Fools?
I was kind of hoping you were going to go with Dugan on that one, but so my I guess my perspective on it would be treat onto others as you would want to be treated. So that's the first thing for me, is that we're not perfect in any means. Each one of us is flawed, and you could take that to where you are in your faith. But no matter if you believe in a faith or not, I'll tell you, every single man and woman on this earth is flawed in some way. So I think the biggest thing is for us to strive to constantly treat each other with respect, appreciate our differences, and I tell you, there's a lot of differences in the fire service these days, much different than there were, in the 60s and the 70s. And yes, I'm talking about paramedics, not anything else.
You've obviously never met my wife if you don't think there's a perfect person. So.
Well, I have met your wife, and the time that I was with her, she was perfect. So, But so we are our society just in general is changed, and so just trying to understand, to appreciate everybody, and I think the easiest thing is, if you don't want to be treated a certain way, then don't treat others that way. And so I think that's one of the biggest ones with the Fools, is that why there is no barriers. We don't care, man, woman, paid, volunteer, buff, whatever it is. We want you to be a part of our organization, as long as you meet those kind of the rules. So for me, I'll just start it off with that. I think that's one of the biggest things we offer, and just treating everybody like they're your brother or sister, right?
Well, I think Mike, talk a little bit about some of the virtues and values and principles that are associated with the Fools that are sacred to the Fools.
Well, the Fools has their mission statement. Let's be honest. Protect the brothers. Okay, keep the faith. Do the right thing. Everyone goes home. These are all core values. They're part of our mission statement, but they're also part of our core values. And they're not just words we throw around. They are what we live for, what we strive for. We are trying to make the fire service a better place. We're trying to make the firehouse a better place. We're trying to make your life better. I know I'm flawed. And, I'm not judging, because, boy, if I start judging, I'm going to expect to be judged. And I don't want to be judged. So I don't judge anybody else. You do what you want to. That's fine. In the firehouse, we work together towards the common goal. We are the group that is going to go out on the worst day in the world for Mr. and Mrs. John Q. Public, and we are going to make the world better for them, whether their house is on fire, whether their kid is ill, whether they just got rear-ended in a car. We are going to go there, and we are going to treat them like we want our mom, our dad, our husband, our wife, our boyfriend, our girlfriend, or our kids treated. And that's the way we are. Our core values are we treat everyone with the respect and dignity deserving of every person in the world. Now, I always told everybody my value in the firehouse was always everybody gets treated the way I wanted my mom treated. Your reaction to how I treated you depended on which way it went from there. Now, everyone still gets treated because you are a professional. You are still going to have to be the professional, and profession has nothing to do with paycheck, folks. You're a volunteer, you show up and you're a volunteer in your turnout gear, you are a professional firefighter. Okay? You're an on-call, you show up, you're a professional, you're paid, you're a professional. You show up there and they expect you to do your job, and you have to do it. If you start going off on people, screaming or doing some of these other things, then maybe we have to go back and raise your education level a little bit. Work with you on maybe your control of your emotions. Happens to all of us, okay? But one of the things we want to make sure of as we do this is that our core values and the values that we bring to our brothers and sisters are that everyone is treated equal, everyone is treated fairly, and we do the same to ourselves and our brothers and sisters in the firehouse.
Rusty, you want to jump in there?
Well, in addition to what Mike said, the core values, those that protect the brothers, everyone goes home, keep the faith. Those are things that were originated by fools. They came from the fools, and they have been adapted, co-opted, straight up stolen by everyone in the fire service in this day and age. I mean, the social media, etc., has made it so that they're widely known now, and it's just not, unfortunately, not widely known outside of the fools that that's where they came from. I think that people would have a different perspective of the fools as a whole if they were aware that those very basic core things came from us as an organization.
Yeah, I think you're exactly spot on. I think that the virtue of loyalty to me is probably one of the most predominant virtues that the fools espouse, and loyalty, loyalty to the mission, loyalty to one another. It's a huge deal. Loyalty is a huge deal in the fools, and it comes across all the time. I think the other thing, and I think Rob, again, I'll hold up Rob as an example. Sammy Hiddle, another great example of it, is integrity. Kirk Isaacson, Mikey Gilbert, Bart Simpson. I mean, the integrity of those men is just unassailable. They shake your hand, and that's all. They tell you they're going to show up, they show up. They shake your hand, that's a deal. They're amazing men and women within the Fools organization. Ellen, for goodness sakes, that just you can't begin to you just can't begin to describe how impressive they are as people. I think that for me, loyalty and integrity are two of the biggest aspects of the Fools. But I think probably even more important than that is the empathy that the Fools have for people. And Rob talked about it, Mike talked about it, Rusty talked about it. You show up in a town and your car breaks down, you can call and somebody from if there's a Fools chapter nearby, somebody's going to figure out a way to help you out. I get it all the time. I tell people I'm heading here or I'm heading there, and if I said I'm heading to the Boston airport and I need a lift to Worcester, Friday morning, there'd be 5 Fools within 10 minutes. Give me a shout and say, hey, I can be there by 10, or I'll pick you up at noon, or or what time do you want to be picked up? It's just that it's that empathy that we have for one another whether it's good times or bad. And that's the other neat thing about the Fools. The Fools aren't going to kick you out just because you're having a bad hair day. You know, everybody goes through them. Everybody goes through tough times, illness, divorce, financial problems. The Fools don't kick you out for that. They find ways to get you help, and I think that's a pretty neat thing. When you talk about what the Fools represent, for me, it's that loyalty, that integrity, that empathy, that real compassion, and that innovative spirit of the firefighter. Just really, for me, kind of brings home what the Fools represent. So let's go to a personal question that I always wanted to, and Mike, I got to credit Mike with this question, and so I'll make him answer it first. Mike, what drew you to the Fools? Why did you want to be a Fool? I mean, you're Mike Dugan, for goodness sakes. You're one of the most famous firefighters in the United States, arguably internationally. You're a Gordon Bennett Medal winner, which is the highest decoration you can win in the FDNY for bravery. You're legendary in your firefighting expertise and your prowess. You're probably second to none in your reputation. So why would a guy like you, who's got virtually everything that a firefighter could ever hope to have, why would you be drawn to the Fools? Did we lose Mike? Oh, my computer locked up.
No, so you're still good with me, Bobby.
Yeah, you got me too.
Oh, good. I'm not hearing Dugan, though. Did we lose Dugan?
I think you scared him.
Yeah. He's locked up solid from here.
Well, while we check on Mike's audio, we'll give that question over to Brandon. Could you try to bring Mike back in, and we'll go to Rob. Rob, what drew you to the Fools? Rob, why did you feel compelled to become a Fool?
Well, it was 2002 FDIC West. For those, I mean, we used to go to the other side and do FDIC, and I was on a roof. We were in Sacramento. I was on a roof, one of those 1950s apartment buildings, kind of a really relaxed, angled, pea-graveled roof for California area, and getting ready to do vertical ventilation. Been to FDIC a couple times, and I just don't know how I didn't bump into it when I was at Indianapolis. But so we're on the roof, and a captain from Sacramento, Truck 7, Trost, he says, before we get started, how many of you here are Fools? And, you know, most everybody just looked around at each other and went, I have no idea what he's talking about. And he goes, if you like the fire service, and you like the job, and you like to talk about the fire service, and it's your love, you're a Fool. And I went, well, I'm a Fool. So so that night they had some, a fellowship, basically just gather brothers. There may have been some sisters there, and that's kind of the start of where I heard about the Fools. Now, why I joined, well, basically we left FDIC, came home, and the first thing I was thinking is, man, I got to start one of these chapters. This is going to be the thing that for my area that's really going to bring us together. And there was already a chapter started by some other brothers, and jumped in and got involved. The reason why I wanted to do it is that I needed this outlet. I needed a place where I felt like I fit in, because nothing against the department I was with. It's just we were a younger organization, younger firefighters. Younger as in we hadn't been around a long time, so we didn't have very many traditions. And the way that I saw the fire service as a kid growing up is that's not what my organization was. But the Fools was like that ideal, that what I was looking for. So that was the reason why what I jumped into. And then, from 2002, the story goes on. Just everybody I met, meeting great firemen like Captain Dugan. Just every year I meet somebody great, and it just really confirms or affirms for me that the reason why I joined the organization and why I stay here and I'm a part of it. And that's how I got in.
Outstanding. And you know, as you listen to Rob talking, we talk a lot about tradition and how much we value it. For many, many years, people who were revisionist historians, people who evil people had painted tradition as something that was backward, tradition as something that was evil, something that was holding people back, where tradition really brings people together. The Sunday meal with the family, the whole family sitting down, the extended family, that's a tradition that goes back generations that keeps people together. It's traditions are excellent and important. What people were confused with was behavior that was aberrant to our values, and they started calling that tradition. That's not tradition. That's contra-normative behavior. And the evil people who are trying to paint the fire service in a bad way for their own bad purposes were doing that in order to further their agendas. But they were people who had little real world experience with the fire service, so they were taking behavior that was either reckless or unsafe and characterizing that as traditional, and then nothing could be further from the truth. Rob just described beautifully what real tradition is. So thank you for doing that. But Mike, what drew you to the Fools? I gave you a big flowery introduction. I take it all back now. What drew you to the Fools, Big Mike?
I don't know. I don't know what threw me out of this Google chat either. But wow, did it get loud here all of a sudden? But technical difficulties, and I'm not that technically savvy, so I am back. What drew me to the Fools? I met Mike Gilbert at FDIC. It was either 97 or 98. I'm not sure which. And we still are trying to figure out which one it was. Mike Gilbert was staying in a hotel room with Mike Stallings, Kenny Ireland, and maybe Walt Lewis, but there were 4 of them in a double room with bunker gear teaching. And I'm like, these guys are some motivated son of a guns. They are definitely motivated son of a guns. And their idea is to be here to learn. So Gilbert started telling me about the Fools. We met at the bar, and back then there wasn't even a clatter at FDIC. The clatter wasn't there. We met at Ike's and Jonesy's, and I said, well, I would love to talk to you, but this place is way too loud. Let's go talk. So we went around the corner, sat down, had a beer, and just the 2 of us met, and I'm like, this guy could be my brother. And from that day on, we have been solid friends, and to this day I consider him one of my best friends. And we have just, it was to make the fire service better. And their reasoning wasn't for them. It was for the fire service. Their motive was pure. Their whole idea was that we were going to try to make the fire service better for the betterment of the fire service. And it's something you can't argue with. You can't argue with someone who's trying to do something good for another group or organization with no personal gain. And their personal gain, so to speak, was a better environment to work with, more motivated people to work with, and making our job better. And you're like, wow. So that was my first introduction to the Fools. And then we started getting involved and became fast friends. And then 9/11 happened. And the Fools on 9/11 were, I'll never forget Gilbert calling me that night. And he's like, what do you know? I'm like, I have no idea. What do we got? I have no idea. Who did we lose? I have no idea. And they were passing words down. And I'll never forget, Mike Gilbert said to me, on probably it was the morning of the 12th, he goes, I heard John Salka's gone. And I said, wrong. And he said, what do you mean, wrong? I said, Salka's not gone. He goes, how do you know? I said, I heard Salka on the radio at Ground Zero. Salka is not gone. I would recognize that voice anywhere. Salka is not gone. And he was sulking, barking orders. Do you understand that we got a couple of guys trapped here? Let's get some men over there and get our asses moving in the right direction. That's so I knew right away who that was, and I'm like, okay, that's check, good, okay. So at that point, it solidified everything. They were a clearinghouse for people. Guys were coming up from the F.O.O.L.S chapters all over the country, all over the world, were coming up to memorials to stand in line. The New York City Fire Department prides itself. If we have a line of duty funeral, we will put 10,000 bodies in the line of march as the families leave the church so they can see the respect their loved one gets from brother and sister firefighters. After 9/11, I remember going to some funerals where if we had 500 to 1,000 FDNY guys, it was a lot. But then you turn around and he's, hey, I know you from... They were fools. It was amazing. And that just solidified that these people were more concerned about the team, the organization, the whole idea than they were about themselves. And it made a huge difference.
Wow. Wow. Rusty?
I don't know if I can top that, but I mean, for me, what started me with the F.O.O.L.S was they had a great little website. It was the place to go for, late 90s. AOL was it for, place to find stuff, and searched around a little and came across the F.O.O.L.S International website. And I lived vicariously. The small town fireman from Massachusetts, I lived vicariously. Guys all over Florida, and this Mike Dugan character, and this Rich Nappy character who was just larger than life itself, and just some of these other guys. And as time wore on, I found some of these guys in my area, and in 2003, late 2002, 2003, we were able to get our chapter up and running. Found enough guys close enough to me to meet the needs to start a chapter, and the rest is history.
Bobby, I think Rusty brings up another great point. Is that one of the things that for me, what I saw of the F.O.O.L.S is the greatest instructors, those that were stepping up and were involved at FDIC or any of the other conferences all across the nation. Every time I went to these conferences and you got to see who was instructing, then you would find out they're a F.O.O.L. And that's the other draw to the F.O.O.L.S is that you kind of wanted to be a part of that great instruction. As Rusty's saying, he's getting all that information. Well, the best of the best, in my opinion, were the ones passing that information on. And if you wanted to be the best, you need to rub elbows with the best. And this was an avenue to do it. And from a small organization where I come from, at the time, probably I'd say the biggest name in the Washington State, not D.C., Washington State area was Captain Galliano. I mean, I knew he was affiliated, but other than that, things have changed, and more F.O.O.L.S have got involved. So for me, the other thing is it just draw me into to getting information and meeting some of the best in our industry.
Outstanding. So, a little bit. What are the F.O.O.L.S doing right now? I mean, what are some of the projects that the F.O.O.L.S are involved with? And then how can somebody get involved with the F.O.O.L.S if they want to get involved with the F.O.O.L.S? So, what's going on in some of the F.O.O.L.S chapters today that you all know about in terms of what are the F.O.O.L.S doing? What do the F.O.O.L.S do?
Well, the one that's near and dear to my heart, I've been involved with for years, that a lot of F.O.O.L.S chapters have embraced, is St. Baldrick's, and now it's even come around a little further with what's going on with my nephew. My 13-year-old nephew, Christopher, has osteosarcoma, and 3 days before I had my surgery, He had his part of his tib fib, his knee, and 50% of his femur removed. And he's doing great. He's doing better than I am. And the kid's 13 years old. He's amazing. But childhood cancer, St. Baldrick's, huge, huge, huge involvement with that. There are also a lot of chapters who are involved in areas where Habitat for Humanity is part of what they do. Wounded Warriors is a big one for a lot of the F.O.O.L.S chapters, because a lot of the military, former military or firefighters are former military, and taking care of our men and women who went to battle to take care of this country is huge. So that's where I see a lot of chapters spending a lot of time, and there are also local charities that a lot of them do, but any charity that they're dealing with, I don't care what it is, they're making an impact on the community, because the community is seeing firefighters out there making a difference by working towards this charity.
Rusty, what's happening with the F.O.O.L.S? What are they doing that you'd like to share?
Well, I know up in New England here, we were the originators of Halfway to St. Paul's. We wanted to be a little bit different. We instead of doing it again in March, we opted to do it in September, and we did that for a few years back in the early 2000s until my focus, me personally, changed. My son was diagnosed with diabetes, so as important as childhood cancer is across the boards, I had a little bit more, a little something to take care of at home in terms of being involved with juvenile diabetes research, fundraising. So a lot of the stuff that we do with New England some of the money raised goes to the JDRF. I know that's near and dear to especially the Muddy River Fools, brothers in that chapter, whose kids have diabetes as well. We focus a lot on local stuff in terms of our fundraising efforts. Last year we gave a couple of $1,000s early in the year to families. Some of it went to the Walsh and Kennedy families in Boston after the Beacon Street fire, and as well as we had done some fundraising early in the year last year. That the fundraising, the money went to a local family, a chief who's sick with cancer up in Maine, who they're struggling. His family's struggling, so we're able to raise some money for his family as well. We do every year, every February, March, we try to do a F.O.O.L.S Fire Buff Photo Night. What we do is we invite a handful of the local photographers to come in and just showcase the work that they've done over the years or out of their collections. It's a great night. It's a great excuse for everybody to get out, kick the winter blues, kick the cabin fever, and just get together and tell lies for a couple of hours and just look at fire porn for a couple more hours after that. And it's this year's actually the 10th year we've done it. And it's a great fundraiser for our chapter, and it's a great awareness thing for our chapter as well.
Wow, that's great. And then when everybody's talking about fundraisers, a lot of the fundraisers that they're talking about are actually training sessions where people like Captain Dugan and Chief Galliano and John Norman and Chief Salka and all the people who support the F.O.O.L.S go and train at greatly reduced rates, just basically cover their expenses for the day to raise money for these different causes. So they'll put on training classes. I know Mike does them all the time, and which is another neat thing that the F.O.O.L.S do. So if you're looking for a place to help get training for your organization, that's one of the #1 fundraisers that the F.O.O.L.S do every year. To keep the F.O.O.L.S alive and well. What's the future for the F.O.O.L.S? Where are the F.O.O.L.S going as we get into wrapping up here? But where are the F.O.O.L.S going? What's the future of the F.O.O.L.S? Short term, the next 2 or 3 years, and then long term. Where do you three guys see the F.O.O.L.S going?
I think the F.O.O.L.S. I think we're having the challenge of social media, and I think that's throughout all of the fire service. We're going to continue on our mission of taking care of one another and preserving the traditions of the fire service. But I see one of our challenges as being social media and being able to communicate in different ways. As technology advances, how are we going to be? Is it going to be through Facebook? Is it websites? Is it whatever? So I think one of our changes that we're going to be having to work on over the next few years is our medium, how we're going to communicate across all the 159 chapters across the world. But the biggest thing is, to me, is we cannot let up taking care of one another, and I think we've made good strides over the years from 1995, since the organization's been around, to do that. And I'll never forget 9/11, and sadly some people are forgetting, and this is what the fools need to be, the one that steps in there, and not necessarily to make everybody remember, but we're not the ones that's going to forget, and we're going to carry that flag of remembering everybody that has gone before us, and continuing to strive to taking care of one another, and memorializing all of our brothers and sisters.
Wow. Rusty, where do you see the Fools going? What's your vision for the future?
We're a strong organization. Robbie's point about social media is, I think everybody wants to be something else. Everybody wants to be. They look at us and they say, "Wow, those guys are wicked cool. We want to be them." And often imitated, never duplicated, I think is a way to pick the fools. We've been around since '95. Us here in New England have been around since 2003. We've seen chapters around us come. We've seen chapters around us go. And despite any of the effort that we've put into trying to help some of them stick around, they go. I mean, fools. It's in your heart. It is who you are. It's what you are. It's how you are. So long as you don't change, it's going to continue on despite challenges around us. We're a constant, I guess, if you will.
See, that's why I like being a fool, because I get to hang out with guys like you that I can. There's no one's looking at a 60-year-old broken down old man like me and saying, "Hey, I want to be like that guy." But I can hang out with you guys and just kind of bask in your glow. So it's kind of cool for an old guy like me. Mike, where do you see the Fools going in the next few years and then into the future?
Well, I think the Fools are becoming more mainstream. And when we first started the Fools, I mean, there were people who thought we were a secret organization. We were, the crypt keepers, the gatekeepers. We were these scary underground gang of firefighters who were going to overthrow command and take over the fire service. And nothing was further from the truth. And I think the Fools the first 20 years, it's amazing how far they've come. But I think they're going to continue for the next 4 or 5 years to become more mainstream. And then once they become more mainstream, I think that's when we can look for what you are talking about, Bobby, with, Fools buildings, Fools chapters, Fools people. I've seen a couple of Fools places that have been amazing in different areas I've been to. But a lot of places don't have that ability. So I think the idea of the charity work, the working together, and all of those things we are doing are making us more mainstream acceptable and mainstream savvy, and I think that's going to be our mission for the next couple of years.
Yeah, and I would just like to echo what all three of my friends just said. I think that the Fools are going to continue to grow. I think that early on there were a lot of people who thought we were just this bawdy bunch of roughnecks that were just interested in drinking and partying. Nothing further from the truth. One of the biggest group of fools out there, and Mike and I are both members of the Dry Fools, fools that don't drink, sober fools. And our little motto for our group is that you can have a blast without being blasted. And all kinds of guys belong to the Dry Fools, so it's not a drinking club, and that myth has been debunked. It's really about service and about preserving the traditions and the history and the values and virtues of the fire service, and I think that's a a neat thing. And I really do believe that we may not see it in my lifetime, but that someday young firefighters, some of them who may be listening to us today, will be sitting down in a F.O.O.L.S chapter hall somewhere and saying, I can't imagine that the fire service didn't have this forever. And maybe they'll believe that we always did, and that would be even better still, that it'll be so natural to have F.O.O.L.S halls all across the country where we can go and sit down and just say, hey, I'm a firefighter, or I was a firefighter, or my brother was a firefighter, my sister was a firefighter, and that gets you right in the door. Hey, before we leave, does anybody like to say anything before I wrap it up and bring it home? Does anybody want to share anything before we go?
I would like to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy Thanksgiving with your families, and I wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving.
Ricky, Rusty, Robbie?
Just thank you for including me in this today. I really appreciate it. And again, happy Thanksgiving to you all. Enjoy your families. Enjoy your time that you're going to be able to have with your families.
Boss? Rob?
I echo those two as well. Enjoy the time with your family. Really appreciate those times. You never know when it's your time, and you may no longer be here. If you're interested in the F.O.O.L.S, you can go to foolsinternational.com. There's our website. I'll be honest, it's not for everybody, and you'll know when you get in and you start going to meetings or start meeting them. You'll know if this is your gig. But you can go to foolsinternational.com and check us out. There's 159 or 160 chapters all across the world. We got a chapter in Belgium, but most of them are in the United States. You can go to Facebook, look us up. You can be a part of us at any time. FDIC is a great hangout for a good portion of the F.O.O.L.S. We have a convention every year. This coming year, or next year, I should say, it's going to be in Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Woo woo!
Yeah, and so you can look us up, and also Friday Blog Talk Radio is Fool's Night, so I will be doing Blog Talk Radio with the great, incomparable Ben Flegel, Captain Flegel from up in Alaska. He's always got the warrior poet. He's always got something great to say. So we're out there, and I just love the opportunity to be hanging out with you brothers and whoever else is out there listening. And you can always shoot me an email if you have any questions, and I'll do my best to answer them. So thank you, Bobby.
Oh, no, I would like to say thanks to all three of my friends for joining with me today and talking about the F.O.O.L.S. I'd like to close with a little piece of history and a thought for you, maybe, about kind of tie us into the F.O.O.L.S. Is that on this date, 151 years ago, at the Soldiers' National Cemetery, which is part of Gettysburg, the president at the time, Abraham Lincoln, gave a speech known as the Gettysburg Address today. And in it, he asked all Americans to highly resolve, that those dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation, under God, should have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, and for the people shall not perish from this earth. And since he said those prophetic words 150 years ago, Americans have striven, have toiled, have died to make those words a reality. And so I think when we talk about the F.O.O.L.S, that if all of us who care about the values and virtues and traditions and honor of the fire service should highly resolve that those who have given their lives in the ultimate sacrifice have died in vain, and that these traditions and this honor will have a new birth within the F.O.O.L.S, a birth of life and vibrancy, a birth of a philosophy of life that is livable, and that firefighters shall never be alone. That this organization that was founded by firefighters for firefighters shall never, ever cease to exist in supporting the fire service and furthering its virtuous and righteous goals. My name's Bobby Halton. It's been our pleasure and honor to have spent the afternoon with you. We hope that you have a beautiful Thanksgiving, and remember, please, be careful out there.